This phase we call stacking the straw, a systematic procedure and common sense approach that has been developed over many years of experience.
Over here. Okay. Now, we take off our safety caps. You know, we leave these on so someone doesn't trip and impale themselves on some rebar. Now, when you're pushing these down on the rebar, this first row, it's good if you're working two people. You kind of want to seesaw them down. You're going to kind of come down. And then the other thing we want to watch, and he's got the level, is we want to make sure our bale's going in plumb with the outside of the wall. So we're going to come up with this, and then he's going to put that level, and you kind of eyeball down and make sure that you're looking like you're lining up. Look like you're lining up with your plane here, your plane in the wall. Because once we impale this, we can knock it around a little, but we want to get pretty close. Okay? Okay, we just kind of come at an angle to check it. It's going to vary some, but I think we're good. So now I'm going to push down, you're going to push down. This is the old seesaw method, we call this. Now be careful, because some of these might come up through the bale as we go down. You can see how tight that is. And then see, you can see where it poked this up and it kind of pushed up some of the straw. So I want to pull that out once I get this set and make sure this is flat and tight. So this is where my bale whacker comes in. Or we can do it the old straw bale shimmy. I can just get on here and do a little dance, do a little jig. Now I can see I'm kind of out here a little bit. Be a weak spot. Now, come in here and let me grab the stapler. Okay, so if I shoot those just anywhere, look what happens, I can pull it away. But if I push that tight in the corner, can't pull it at all. So now that I've got that secured, now I want to take my bale pins and it's real important, you guys will see the opening here. You see how wide it is? It's important to squeeze it so that it's going in at about this distance. Because if it doesn't, what'll happen, if you put it in like that, it'll just rip the lath as you keep pounding it down. And so it won't have a good connection. So squeeze your bale pin as you go in with it. I usually put 3 minimum, 2 in the front part. And then you could put 2, but I usually just put 1 back here to hold this down. And I'll kind of bend it. Now look how strong that is. I can't really hardly move this bale. Look how much I can move it here. Okay. So now we've got our first bale set. We've got this brace and plumb. We're going to start going this way with our bales. So next step, and we really need to cut open a bale so we got some stuff to stuff with here. I thought we had one cut open before. Okay. Bring me some, because if you're too tight, you'll push this bale that way. And that'll push that buck. Or if we're going to a corner, it'll make the corner bulge out. It's what we call bulging corner syndrome. The way I like to check is I put my hand here and I go down. If I could keep it straight and it feels like it's going to be, I'd say that's good to go. Now, let's check our notch. Does it look good, or do we need to take a little more out? Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and go down with that. Seesaw, seesaw. Now, what you want to be able to do is if you can stick your hand down in here easily, it's too loose. But I can stick my hand down to the middle of the bale and I really can't push much more. That's about right. Yeah, and then we're going to stuff this. Once we pound this thing down into place, so we'll take the bale whacker, we'll go ahead and get it, make sure it's down and in place. So if we want to knock it in and out and you've stuffed it, it's just going to knock that stuffing back out. Well, there'll be some type of gapping here. What I was saying is I like to get my outside straight, not worry about my inside so much. One reason, because you end up having, in the inside of the house, you might have a 40-foot wall outside, but you might have 2 interior walls dividing it. So it's much easier to worry about, you know, filling this in, put a piece of lath and fill it in before you plaster it or something to make it all even. So let's bring that one over. We're going to go right up against here, cut side out. And let's get our squarest end against the buck. Okay. Then you're going to have to push in because you're going off. You know, you got straw holding you off and you're going off the foam surface there. Okay. And we actually need to put a little stuffing down below. Just lift this up. We didn't get any. This is pretty square. This side's pretty square here.
Every joint, basically, you put stuffing.
Every joint, you know, we'll put stuffing here. We'll put the bale on and we'll stuff down these and then we'll put a layer of stuffing along the top so it looks like this. Now, lesson number 37.
Don't use the tools and stuff.
Tools become lost very easily within the confines of straw bale construction. You can see by a simple trimming there, I have managed to bury most of my tools. So I always stick these like that, so I know where they are. I'll put these like that. I'll stick my pins in so I know where they are. Because I can't tell you how many tapes, knives, pencils. We have yet to lose any people in the bale building process, but it's certainly very easy to lose tools. This first row isn't really as critical because it's pinned so well to the foundation. But obviously as we go up and the walls get a little more flexible, so to speak, until we get them pinned and trimmed and lathed and plastered in, it's important that we make those connections from that second row up especially. So let's get the... And the other thing when you're stuffing, make sure it's even. You know, you're not stuffing one side more than the other so it tilts the bale up on edge or something. Now with the log, you want to kind of, this stuff will stretch. See how it's stretching around that log? I want to make sure my lath isn't coming out, sticking out past this straw so that when I'm trimming it later or I'm working it, I don't catch it or cut it or have to deal with it. So let's go ahead and staple that in.
Shape it around it.
Yep, kind of shape it around it. Shoot it tight.
As I walked into the sun, I thought to myself how far I've come. I have found this place before, but winter's coming soon, so I must find a place that's warm until the sun can melt the snow back to dust.
My second cousin is base here that we're putting all this on. So let's go over here and we'll start on this side and work our way back. Let me just go over a couple basics. We're going to go on edge like this, okay? And we're going to be able to use you can shape bales in a lot of ways. We've also got we got our frame here, and we got that, so we're gonna have to see how this fits and see if we're gonna need to flake and stuff, especially this first row back in this little cavity, because this here is our midpoint where the dome goes like this, so it's kind of going back under here, so we're probably gonna want to flake that out. Now, as we come in to this connection here, we want to create a connection here to this wood with the bale, and we're going to do that with some lath and some of those pins we made in an air stapler. So we'll probably get this first row done, and then we'll get all that set up so we can kind of make it strong attachment here, so it's not just kind of floating there, it's actually attached to this frame. You got a bale coming to a frame wall. If you look at the bale, there's what we call the cut side. You see how this is cut? You can see where it's cut. And if you look at the other side of the bale, you can see how it's just kind of packed. You don't see that cut mark. Generally, it's not going to matter that much in this application, but if our bales were going flat like this, I always like the cut side to the outside. And the reason being, because it's cut like that, I can trim the rest of this, and I have this superiorly strong bond to the stucco. And you want the stronger bond on the outside as opposed to the inside, because the outside's got extreme temperature fluctuations, freezing, warm, sunny, 60, freezing at night, whatever. So in this application on edge, it isn't really going to matter whether we go up or, what orientation that those strands have. So now, this is a lot of times this is good. It takes two people to really set a bale. So Greg, why don't you come over and grab the other end of this. We're going to kind of grab it, like that. And I want to get it tight to that wall and tight to this wall. And then I want to bring it down on that rebar and kind of make sure I'm going in straight. It's a little crooked, so I want to pull it back up. Let me straighten that out. Now we want to kind of seesaw it down. Okay, that was pretty hard. So I'll run over there about right there. Now it's going to be a little funky here. I don't know what we're... Yeah, just tie one in the middle, and then we'll cut that and we'll chainsaw that angle on.
What about this right here?
Jam that puppy.
You hold it. Well, am I pulling a whale through there? Huh?
Some of
Goes
this.
downward.
Pretty tight.
Downward.
Let's see if we can salvage this or if it's totally wet in there. So I cut a big enough hole where I could pull some of this out so I can actually get my hand in there a ways. And it's pretty dry once I get in past that. So we could do a patch here. See how it's dry in there? So I'm just going to cut out the bad spot, and we'll just, when he does his prep, we'll, when the wire goes over, we'll stuff some loose straw in there. We'll just have to pull that out. Not the best way to do it, but I'm just showing you that in case you got a whole wall stacked and you got a bad spot you need to fix. That's how you would fix it. I think we should just replace that bale.
Run it long ways. That would have.
Falls down, then you got a big sloppy woppy mess. You could actually take the stick back up. How you trim
Funny because you know what'll happen after about a year. You treat it like
hit it low where you're hitting it. No more.
Okay, so we need a pipe, he's getting those. I'll get a shear plate. Go to that filter. There's no guesswork.
But on the outside? But on the outside? How much?
I heard 3/8.
Someone put a level on it? See how it looks? Yeah, it looks good. And then we need to get that in. Go ahead and staple it. Let's take a nail gun and go ahead and toenail this. Toenail that, and then we can clamp on it. Yeah, that's good. We can go that way a little, or no, we'll belly down a little. Yeah, can do that. Check the other edge, see how it looks. Toenail with them? Yeah. And we'll toenail, not through these, but toenail some of that in. Kind of the same on the other side. Same, so let's get a brace and push it that way. This way. Whichever way it needs to go. Put them over where they meet. Mike, put them over where they meet. Where these two panels meet.
What we're doing here is building a panel. It can be a big panel, it can be a small panel. This is a panel, it's actually above a window. We're using a TJI, an engineered joist, as our bottom and top plate for the panel. We have packed it with plywood. You could use insulation, solid, rigid EPS foam. And basically, you just cut your studs to length. We'll nail it together and then we'll shear it with a piece of 3/4 inch plywood on the side. So, well, let's do it. We don't use any glue here. Some people use 2x4s for these sections. We're using this because it's relatively cheap. Always like to build on a flat surface. It just helps things come out a little bit more square. And if your cuts are square, we shouldn't have to rack this too much at the end in order to make it square. So, you can use a pneumatic nailer, you can use your regular nail. Make sure things are perfect. go at an angle with these or else you'll split this wood. Because these are made to be nailed like this, not like this. Getting a straw bale in one of these panels that's this small is a task. So we may actually have to take the straw bale apart and hack it in. But this is a very rare panel that's this small. And it does need to be racked a little bit. This is 63 3/4. So this being the short and that being the long, if we move it, we have to basically hit it so one of the diagonals is longer, and then it will be in perfect square. 12-foot tall panel that's 7 feet wide, or something small like this. And this isn't really a header, even though it's going above a window. The micro lamb that's going to be on top surrounding this. You can use staples here, you can use ring shanks, just something that's made to shear plywood to wood, not the big framing nails I was using.
Tack out the end in here behind these 2x4s.
Hee-haw.
If you really want me to say hee-haw, don't you?
You got the
Now we're
overall.
going to grab this leg.
Got the overalls for it.
We want it nice and tight, so I need another.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you just want to resize the bale?
Because it's stronger this way, isn't it?
Well, because the way we'd have to recut it,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't really work.
This way it's using scraps.
Strength-wise, the wood's.
It's just a fill.
Yeah, the wood's picking up the strength. It wants to be tight.
Your mind is free to wander, and your body here to stay. How I wish I was alone for the rest of this busy day. How I wish I was alone for the rest of this busy day.
Now we do the straw bale song.
You can feel like somebody's hero, and then cry out tears of pain. 1 minute you're cold and weary,
Weed whacker.
next you're dancing like a fool. How I wish every
One each way. I'm going to offset them a little.
No.
So once again, we're just going to drill one. Basically, you want to start it, kind of stick it in, and you should be about the same distance off the floor back here as you are at the hole, and that tells you it's pretty close. You can just kind of eyeball it, and then After you push it in as far as you can, you're going to just tap it in.
And the way the flakes are, this end is easier to drive because you're going in between the flakes. Where we turned the flakes on sideways to drive through the bale is tougher.
Show us.
Where's your
Matter, but it has to
Yeah,
come,
whacker tacker staple.
the straw bale in the same orientation. So turn it. Yeah.
Do we have two ladders?
I think if you could just get it over to us. Here, actually, this ladder I think is just in the way. Okay, now just walk it over so we can help you.
What's that one, Kevin?
Huh?
What's that one?
9
Hang
foot.
on to it.
Equal. Should I put in this groove here?
Yeah. All right, hang on. You got it. Well, these will get sheared with a piece of ply. So, and then sheared to the beam. So this thing will be bomber.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, nice.
What's going to happen is that'll go on once I trim it, and we'll nail that on. And then we got a nailer for our baseboard trim. Because if we don't put something in there, we're not going to have anything to nail that to. And it's pretty hard to attach trim with just glue and good luck. You know, it really needs something. So that's when we trim these. After we trim the whole wall, we want to come back and make sure we really trim this good up to 6 or 7 inches above the bale, so that this, when this gets on, see right now it's being held out by the straw bale. So we want to trim it so that'll go flat to the wood. We get a good connection there, and that'll make our trim stay nice and straight, and we'll have a nice nailer for that. So we don't want to trim it too much, but we want to trim it so we can see to straighten the wall up.
Our next step is plaster prep, which requires we pay particular attention to detail in order to make plastering a success.
Alright, now, Kevin, come over and head under the window. Here we got an indentation where the bale wall needs to go out, so I've got a guy on the inside and he's going to hit that out. There you go. Now hit down low. Now come over to your left of that last bale. Yep. About right here. Yep. A little more right, about right here, about where that bale meets that stuffed area. Yep. 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 Perfect. Very nice. So we brought that back straight. Now we're ready to stuff out these areas and pin this netting to the bale. And a little bit right along here. Don't worry about the straw getting on the paper. This is actually going to make it stronger if it comes a little bit and feathers out onto that. Then we we got our two different kinds of staples. This is a standard stud staple. These are our bale pins we make out of the fence stays. These just have a lot more holding power. So if these are pulling out on you, use the other style. Okay, that looks good. Now we want to stretch this one up and this one down while I pin it. Now you can see how much harder it'll be to put this one in. It just has a lot more holding power. So now we got a good flat area and a nice strong transition with the netting and the straw to give strength to these wood to straw bale connections here. And then we'll continue to stuff this, and as we go up, so that the straw doesn't fall down. So we'll put a couple pins in here, just enough to kind of hold it in place. And stretch up as you go. Kind of get it at an angle like that. And hammer it in, that'll stretch that wire. Okay, we need some over here, Bill. You can see how this one's already coming back out from pounding on the wall in other places. Yeah, work your way out from the bottom.
The very bottom one now. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, it's not gonna go.
Over here on the
Right
side.
here where this one comes up.
A little more.
Okay, that's good.
Further down, need more straw too.
Yeah, right here, against the window.
Yeah, like Christian, there you go. Right there.
Yeah, right
Okay.
here. Another one up.
Okay.
That's
Right
interesting.
below the window. I'm going to pin along the window and he'll stuff all this out.
Good, yeah. And then bottom down here.
The energy completely changed when you start working with the straw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more. Not too much. It'll stop. Pretty easy. You can see how these bounce back out when you start pounding them in on the other part of the wall. They just don't have that holding power. We got to get some manufacturers here to make these. Sell them. Work a lot better. Selling the whole straw bale building pack pins,
Yeah, I like those a lot more.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Bill,
about
you want to grab that whack?
Push
See
it
if
down a little
maybe
bit.
we can whack this thing out.
Whereabouts?
That right here is kind of where I found it. So we want to spread this out a little bit.
How we doing? Like,
A little more right here. Just kind of keeps going back, bouncing back. Okay, grab that staple gun, Kevin. Bill, stretch this up. One of the reasons we're running wire over this is that these straw bales are on edge, as you can see. And when they're on edge, they don't have, as they do on end, you can see here, you know, they have 1 million fibers sticking out of the end, but on edge it's just a flat plane of straw. So we want a little more reinforcement. Plus in this particular house we've got so much wood to straw transition that these are areas where it'll crack if you don't really do these things we're doing. A little straw feathering underneath there, netting, spanning the whole thing, and that gives this particular system where we got a lot of wood to straw transitions extra strength. Here we're showing the detail of how we've put the stop in, and then we're putting this plastic behind the stop so that as we spray the stucco up, instead of trying to tape it up there, it's already in place. And for efficiency, it's a good idea to go ahead and put that plastic in now so it's protected. We don't have to come set up here again and do it all again. So if you see, we've done this whole side of this building, and if you go back to the tower, you see where it's rolled up, but it's ready, it's already in there ready to just be pulled out and attached. Okay, yeah, I'll show this. Yeah, now bring it out. Just bring it out a little long and we'll cut and make our corner, you know, bring it about a 1/2 inch long. And the metal, make the metal a 1/2 inch past the wall.
Right up to the top of the plastic.
Okay.
Or the top of the soffit.
And then this plastic will come out to here. Now he's stapling that. Then we put this plastic on, and we actually took the cavities in the middle there and we stuffed those with straw flakes that we were showing you earlier. Then I put this plastic on over it to protect it from moisture. Then we put this 1/2 inch plywood shear plate on top so that as we're building the roof we have protection that water, if it gets on this, there's plastic below this, so it's going to direct any water out to the edge of the wall where it's not going to do any damage. So we've got this in, and also it's in and under, and it's ready. I'll show you on the outside when we start our plaster. It's ready to be peeled up and stapled up to protect our soffit and fascia from the plaster getting splattered up on it.
So what I'm doing is the bottom part of this window. On this window, when you do make your overlap, it's nice that it overlaps on the side, because as you can see with this side over here, the better the prep is, the better the stucco will be when it's a final coat. Like if you look at this side, and if you look at this material, we're going to have a little bit more work on our final stucco prep to make this part look nice. This was just using as an example. So here I'm just going to push, I'm just going to nail the top part down, and then place more straw underneath and pin the rest. And so all I did was just to staple it onto the wood, and then we'll go and we'll stuff straw underneath it so that we get a nice even flat surface. One of the other things you want to look at is that with some of these surfaces, you just grab a little bit more straw, is that sometimes you'll see people kind of push it up like this, and then we've got a lump up here. So one of the things you really want to do is to make sure that you've got a real flat surface up here that's equal with the wood in the back. So we'll do something like that.
Up underneath this stucco stop before we attach it. Now some of that we pulled back out here, and we'll have to tape this back on. But what this does is it keeps it from having to tape it on. It'll hold up better. And use the strongest plastic you can. This stop down here has weep holes in it, and we're going to put another piece of stop, this stop here, right up at the top after I pull that plastic up. So let me grab a ladder and we'll get that plastic put up out of the way so we can get some plaster on the wall.
Beautiful.
Okay, now we're going to roll this plastic up and secure it up here, up on top of the roof. So it'll protect all of this as we apply our plaster. I've got a little one of these roofing cap nails, so I'll hold that up there and tack that in. Okay, let's put one more out here. Okay, now that we've got the plastic held up there out of the way, and we've got a little gap here, we want to put a stop there, so we got a guide for our plaster to end, and also gives us a strong end there so the plaster's less likely to fall off. So we've got our 7/8 or 3/4 stop with some expanded lath attached to it, which I find is the strongest one. Now I'm going to just put this up tight against our rafter tail out to the corner. Now I'm going to push that up tight and staple that off. And once you get it secured, you'll come back and really nail it off good. Let me get another one over here. Those are detailed here where we've put a little bit of paper or bitchethane lapped around it, installed the window with caulk, and then we use a piece of the strip lath and pin that in. We've got our bales trimmed, trimmed our wall up, and we need a couple pins up top here, but this area of the wall is ready to be mask this window off, and we're ready to put some plaster on. Okay, here we are. We're about ready to go. Last thing we gotta do is plaster this window off. I'm just gonna plaster the edge since we're applying this by hand. If I was spraying it with the machine, you know, we'd have plastic and everything across this tape. Now this tape's a special plaster stucco tape. It's a PVC vinyl type tape. And do not use duct tape because it will leave glue everywhere. This tape is specifically made not to leave glue, to get wet, to deal with all the things that are going to happen with stucco and plaster applications. So, the important thing is to think about, as you tape this, what's your reveal going to be? In other words, how thick is your final coat going to be? If you're doing 3 coats, 2 coats, earth plaster, whatever. Typically, in this situation, it's going to be about 3/4 to an inch thick right here. So I want to hold my tape back as I tape this. I want to hold my tape back and start it about that 3/4 out like that. And so that way, as I fill this in, and then when I later pull my tape, I don't end up pulling the plaster because the tape's behind it. If that is the case, you can just cut it away. But it's good to get a good reveal to start out with. I like to rub it really good, create some friction so I know it's going to stick really good over time. Almost rub it to the point where you feel a little heat, a little friction heat. Okay.